So we talked last Friday about the Mavericks and how they're like spiraling as an organization. That somehow got even worse this past week. But on the flip side of that trade, that Luka fellow, he's having a pretty good time out there in LA, isn't he?
Who would have thought you trade an undisputed top 5 player? He's gonna play well, he's gonna help a team improve. Not a Lakers fan being from Portland, but Braun's got a chance at ring number 5 now.
So you're hopping on the bandwagon?
Absolutely!
Before we start talking about the Lakers, if you haven't already, make sure you leave this video a like, give us a subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on one of our videos. But first, a word from the sponsor of today's video, Factor. Now, we've talked about Factor on the channel a couple of times because there is no service that offers food with this much quality and this much convenience. Factor meals are fresh, chef-prepared, and never frozen that are ready in only a couple of minutes. Like, picture the scene. I spend my Sunday night out on the soccer field, running my ass off all game. We lost like 8-1, by the way. Rough day at the office. Anyway, I get home, and I'm just completely exhausted. I'm too tired to cook, and I'm not trying to drop a bunch of money on delivery either. Luckily, Ben's got me on this one.
What happened to you?
Tired and hungry.
It's all good, we got Factor.
Thank you.
Factor meals are super easy to prepare. You just poke a few holes in the film, throw it in the microwave, and you're ready to eat. Factor offers 35 meals to choose from per week, so no matter what your tastes are, there's always something for you. So if you want to enjoy some delicious, fresh, and never frozen meals, head to factor75.com or click the link below and use the code 50synthetic to get 50% off your first Factor box. Once again, that's factor75.com and use the code 50synthetic for 50% off your first Factor box. And thank you again to Factor for sponsoring today's video.
Wait. How'd you get in my house?
Yeah, the Lakers are absolutely rolling right now. They're on a 6-game winning streak at the time of this recording. Almost certainly going to end up being 7. They're beating the piss out of the Pelicans right now. Got a chance to get it up to 8 if they beat the Knicks on Thursday, but that win streak has pushed them all the way up to the 2nd seed in the Western Conference, 5th best record in the NBA overall. Incredibly impressive considering if you go back to just mid-January, they were the 7th seed in the West, and if you go back to mid-December, they were the 10th seed in the West. And if they can finish the season strong now, hold off Denver and Memphis, which is not a sure thing by any means, but if they can do that, they're going to go into the playoffs where the only team in the West they're not going to have home court over is Oklahoma City.
That's just insane. I mean, they lead the season series with Memphis 2-1, one more game to go in Memphis there. They're tied 1-1 with Denver, 2 matchups to go there. We got them traveling to Denver here soon. That's going to be must see. But this winning streak has just been so damn impressive, and it's starting to look like they're legitimate contenders. Like with the way they're playing, you can't say they're not, and it really didn't feel like it was going to be like this right away, especially after the Mark Williams trade fell through. It was like, you know, you got LeBron and Luka like on the court. We were kind of questioning the fit. Would it gel super well together? Turns out when you have 2 of the smartest basketball players ever, they just make it work.
They figure it out somehow.
Yeah.
But even still, I mean, there were concerns about the front line rotation. I mean, at that point, it was basically Jackson Hayes, and that's it. They had to sign Alex Len off his couch just to get some more depth. And who's their backup been?
Trey Jemison III, baby.
That sounds like a my career guy.
Kind of looks like a my career guy out there, but you know, he's hustling, giving them some minutes.
Exactly. So, you know, you worried about the front court. Obviously, you had to worry about the defense with AD gone. The Lakers were a subpar defense when he was there. Now he's gone. So, you know, there was some concerns. I kind of felt like watching Luka and LeBron for the rest of the season is going to be a fever dream, but wait till the summer. They make a move for another big, and then next year is when they really go for it. But like when they first started, kind of looked shaky. Like they won their first game against the Jazz in Luka's Laker debut, but it's the fucking Jazz. They're the worst team in the West. So yeah, it counts, but it doesn't count. And it really didn't look good when they got blown out by that same Jazz team. Yeah, it was on the road, but come on. You're a team fighting for a playoff spot. It's never a good look when you get blown out by a lottery team. And then you follow that up by losing at home to the fucking Hornets. Like, things were not looking that good. Luka wasn't shooting well, especially from 3. But then, you know, you follow that up with a road victory against the Blazers without Luka. LeBron goes for 40. Austin Reeves goes for 32. Pretty decent win considering how good the Blazers have been in recent times, 15-6 in our last 21. So, pretty good win, but I still wasn't fully convinced. And then there's that Denver game.
I mean, Denver's been their kryptonite. We know the Nicola with the LA, like, it's like Nicola or LeBronto, like, what's bigger?
LeBronto.
Yeah, LeBronto is bigger, of course, but like the fact that it's even a discussion, Nikola Jokic dominates the Lakers. That's just what he does. The Nuggets had won 12 of the last 13 matchups, including knocking them out in the playoffs twice. Of course, like Jamal Murray's game winners, we all remember those, but this time it was very, very different. Luka played his best game as a Laker. LeBron, Austin Reeves, Roy Hachimura, they all chip in 20 plus, and the Lakers, they just dominate the Nuggets, especially on the defensive end. Thinking basketball, shout out to him, always makes great content. Made a great video kind of talking about the scheme they deployed to stop Jokic, like triple teaming him off ball, like sounds crazy on paper.
That sounds like something you hear that like teams did to Wilt back in the day.
Right, but it's Jokic. You don't really have a center like your traditional center. You gotta do what you gotta do, and JJ Redick was cooking with that whiteboard this game.
Oh yeah, he was. I mean, they were forcing Jokic to just catch the ball further away from the basket than he's normally used to. They were kind of always, sandwiching him if he didn't have the ball, fronting him, denying the pass, and then having someone on the backside if they try to throw it over the top. And like the thing that they were doing really is kind of giving the Nuggets like outside perimeter jumpers because like, yeah, those are decent shots for the Nuggets and they made a fair amount of them. But you got to remember the stat from last year where it's like Jokic shoots like 70% inside the free throw line. So you cannot let him catch the ball low. And the Lakers, they did everything in their power to prevent that. I mean, they were switching, they were helping. It was just a very swarming defensive scheme. And hey, it forced Denver into a season high 22 turnovers that the Lakers got 39 points off of in a dominant 123-100 win where they never trailed. This one raised a lot of eyebrows, really impressed me, but I still wanted to see more, right? I'm greedy like that,
Right.
I gotta see, like, is this a one-off or is this what I can expect every night? But they followed that win against the Nuggets with 4 more really impressive wins at home against the Mavericks in Luka's first matchup with his former team. Yeah, they didn't have AD, but at that point, they still had Kyrie, still had Clay. Dallas at that point, decent team, even if they're a terrible organization. So, that's a fine win. Win at home against Minnesota. Yeah, Ant got ejected, but the Lakers were winning up to that point anyway. And then back-to-back home wins against the Clippers. And the biggest revelation about the Lakers has been their defense, because that was the big concern when you lose a guy like AD and replace him with Luka Doncic.
I'm honestly dumbfounded by this.
Yeah.
I don't even really know what to say because they were a below average defensive team before Luka even arrived. And now they've been the best defensive team in the NBA here recently. Of course, Luka's known as a guy who can't really defend. Like, he has his moments in isolation, not what you want to see, like not the guy you want, but like
his former GM was quoted the night he traded him saying defense wins championships. Yeah. Like, that tells you all you need to know about what Luka's rep was in certain circles in the NBA.
And they have no defensive anchor. Like, they traded one of, if not the best defensive anchors in the entire league in Anthony Davis. So now they don't really have like that stout center. As I mentioned, Jackson Hayes, he's athletic. Trey Jemison, like, I guess he's there. It's a body, but like,
I mean, I just peeked down at my phone. I saw that apparently Zion just packed it on him. So
okay, well, not too surprising, but like Jared Vanderbilt, guys like him coming back. Roy Hachimura, he's a very strong, stout guy. Even guys like Gabe Vincent, who was a damn ghost all of last season, barely playing games. Now he's coming in giving you some defense. So it's really been a team effort. And you also got to say, like, people all these years saying, oh, Braun, he sucks at defense now. Like, well, when he's not carrying a huge offensive load, turns out he's a really good defender.
He's a great team defender, and throw in like Dorian Finney-Smith. Like, they got a great collection of guys that can swarm, that can switch. Even like Luka, yeah, he's a terrible defender if you can get him isolated one-on-one. But if you're running like a switching heavy and, swarming heavy scheme like the Lakers are doing, he's fine because he's such a smart basketball player. He can get himself in the right position. He can pick up some steals, some blocks. Like, he's not a bad team defender by any means. And if you look at the last 7 games, you include that loss to Charlotte, like, they've gone 7 straight games holding all their opponents to 102 points or less. And in an NBA where the worst offensive team, Orlando, averages 104 points per game, holding 7 straight opponents under 102 is incredibly impressive.
I mean, that alone makes them a contender because, as Nico Harrison said, defense wins championships.
That like, it does.
They're playing defense. like we said earlier, we were recording this during the New Orleans game. Of course, I guess Zion just packed it on. we just mentioned that. Like, they're going to win that game. They were blowing them out. Against the Knicks on Thursday could be a tough one. The Knicks have been great, but the Knicks also can't beat good teams. So I feel like the Lakers are going to win that. After that, though, we have a tough stretch of games for the Lakers. That game against Boston, I am so hyped to see that game. That's going to be amazing. Of course, Boston, LA is always great. Given the circumstances, that's going to be a really good game. Then to round out the road trip, you have Brooklyn, which should be a win, but Brooklyn's been a little bit feisty in their tank. You got Milwaukee, and then you got Denver again. Like, that Brooklyn game, they should win, but this could be like a 1-3 road trip, or maybe they stay hot. This is for sure going to be a big time test. Like, the win streak's probably not going to prevail through all this. If it does, like, that's going to be crazy.
If it does, holy shit. Because at that point, it's up to like, what, 13 something?
Yeah, but if they can go 2-2 or 3-1, like, they're still playing super hot at that point.
And if they go 0-4, don't say we cursed them, because that's just a tough stretch of games.
But we also cursed them.
But we did, but we didn't. Like, we don't want that on us. Like, that's not our fault. We don't want we don't want Lake Show Yo coming after us on Twitter. We don't want that.
Right.
But man, the Lakers look good. And the crazy thing is, like, Luka isn't even really playing that well offensively for them. Like, he's getting better. His 2 most recent games against Clippers, he was pretty good. Apparently, he's frying the Pelicans right now. So he's definitely getting better. But, you know, pre-Pelicans game, he was shooting under 40% from the field, 27% from 3, only averaging 22 points a game. God help us all if he gets back to even the form he was in for the Mavericks earlier this season. And if he can get back to like his 23-24 form where he was averaging like 34 points a game, then shut it down. Because at that point, it's like, we're all f***ed over at that point.
Well, it's the first time I can say objectively LeBron is not the best offensive player on his team.
It's probably the first time since he was like a 6th grader he's not the best offensive player on his team.
Maybe it could be ever. I mean, 6th grade Braun. You know
probably
he's
pretty
going
good,
crazy.
Right. Okay.
But there's even been like hints, you know, if you squint your eyes, like there's been a couple moments that even, this feels like an insane comparison, but like some of the full court passes Luka has made, it like almost reminds you of Wade and Braun. It's nowhere near as close because them in transition was crazy, but
I was gonna say it reminds me of like Kevin Love in Cleveland.
Okay, yeah, that's also like a somewhat good comparison. But just what Luka is able to do for Braun the Lakers when LeBron's out of the game, like during this Pelicans game I was watching, like he's just commanding the offense, his passing ability. It's looking like Luka on the Mavericks. So Braun can, you know, take his time off, get some rest. He can come back in, do his thing, or like he can focus on the defensive end. Like LeBron's still an athletic freak, but with Luka there to help him out, he can use that athleticism instead of focusing so much on offense. He can focus on defense, play off ball. It's not always like the perfect fit on the court, but what it's done to take the load off of LeBron has been so big for him.
Yeah, I mean, like as good as AD was for the Lakers, like he doesn't even come close to drawing like the offensive gravity that Luka does. Even when Luka's not playing well, and like what you described, or like Luka taking pressure off LeBron, that's kind of what happened in like the Dallas game. Like, yeah, Luka didn't play particularly well, but because he just draws so much attention, LeBron doesn't have to go all out to the entire game. And then he comes in the 4th quarter, drops 16 points, and seals the win for the Lakers. So like the big question now is, are the Lakers like actually a legit contender to win the title? And at this point, it's like, I don't know how you could say they aren't. Like, I'm not going to do like what Shannon Sharp did, you know, the OKC, KFC, ABC, doesn't matter, Lakers in 5, because that's just disrespectful to Oklahoma City. And I think I would still favor OKC over them. But like outside of the Thunder, who else in the Western Conference is really giving you cause for concern if you're a Lakers fan? Probably still Denver. Like Jokic is always going to freak me out if I'm playing against him. Maybe Golden State because they've been really hot now with Jimmy. But other than that, like Memphis, been there, done that. Houston, doesn't really bother me. Clippers, Lakers are still the better team.
I mean, the only 2 teams at this point I'd pick over them in a 7-game series, it's the Thunder. They've continued to be incredible. Shea, it's just unbelievable how good he is.
Probably going to win the MVP.
Yeah, he's the MVP. Denver as well, I would pick. I understand the game plan was great. We'll see more as they play Denver here soon, and then the other matchup later on. But like Jokic against them, Jackson Hayes, you can triple team him. He's gonna find a way. Like even then, I would still probably say Denver in 6 or 7. Everyone else, I'm picking the Lakers. Like just incredible to even think about at this point. I thought for sure they were gonna be a playing team, but then the most shocking trade in NBA history happens, and now the Lakers could legit win the title this season.
Yeah, I mean, if they're gonna have a chance, so they gotta keep up this level of aggressiveness on defense. Like, the offense is gonna come. Luka is too good of an offensive player to not get back to at least what he was earlier this season. I mean, we're seeing it in this Pelicans game. Like, last time we checked was like 30 points and 14 assists. Like, he's gonna get back to what he used to be. If they could keep up this level of defense, which is gonna be tough because it requires a lot of effort from that team, but if they can keep it up, they're gonna have a pretty good chance to make a deep playoff run. If the last month is any indication of what they can do, they're well on their way. That's the video, guys. What do you think is the ceiling for the Lakers this year? I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, as it really does help us out. And while you're here, why not check out some of our other videos as well? And don't forget to subscribe to Synthetic Sports.